Alright, guys, so picking up where we left off, we finished with monopolistic competition, and then now we're going to talk about oligopoly. An oligopoly is a market or industry in which there are few sellers. So now what we're saying is we went from many sellers to a lot of sellers to a few sellers. There's only a handful of people selling this product. There's still a lot of buyers, all right? So there's still a lot of people who are in need of the product. And the reason we only have a few people selling it is because there's some sort of barrier to entry into the market. If you remember Perfect Pure competition, pretty much anyone can throw apple seeds in the ground and grow apple trees and start selling apples. However, it's much more significant and harder to start a automobile company, all right, or an airline, for example. The cost of setting up and being able to do that is prohibitive. So there's only a few sellers. There's a lot of buyers. The control over price is considerable. All right, so they have some considerable control, and the reason that is because they all know that because there's only a handful of us, if one of us raises prices, let's take airlines for example. If we're all flying from Houston to New York, well, there's only so many seats to fly at a given time on a given day from Houston to New York City. Okay, and so they know that rather than everyone competing on price and lowering their prices, if they just stay the same or even raise their prices, so if one person raises their price, the others will raise their price, that they'll all fill their seats still. And it doesn't do them any good to lower their price because, yes, while they'll fill up their plane first, the other airline will then fill up their plane at a higher price still. So everybody keeps their prices higher. And if someone does something, raises their price, the others react and they also usually raise their price. And so what you'll see is airline tickets are usually about the same price across competitors for flying from New York to Houston or whatever the destinations are. So automobile, airline, car rental. In terms of the product, what we usually see is we see that the products they're usually similar, but it doesn't really matter. They can be similar and distinguishable or similar and indistinguishable. That part of it doesn't really matter, but they generally are pretty similar and offer pretty close to the same product or service. And then that last one is just that there's barriers to entry into the market is the special characteristic. Okay, that brings us to a monopoly. A monopoly is where we have only one seller. So we went from many to a lot to a few to only one. And there's still a lot of buyers. There's still a lot of people who need it. In the United States, we like competition, and so we actually have laws in place that prevent monopolies in most cases. So we have one seller, we have a lot of buyers. The similarity of products doesn't matter because it's just their product, right? So it's really not applicable. The control over price is total. They get to decide the price. Okay. However, we have in the United States, they're generally illegal other than two specific scenarios. One of those is called a natural monopoly, and the other is called a legal monopoly. So in the idea of a natural monopoly, that's your public utilities in whichever town you live in. Around here in Bryan and College Station, if you live in Bryan, you probably get your utilities from Bryan Texas Utilities, BTU. And if you live in College Station, it's College Station Utilities. And so you don't have multiple options. They've given those monopolies to them because it's wasteful to put in the facilities and the extra lines going into your house, etc. So those are called natural monopolies. The other one's called a legal or a limited monopoly, and the idea behind a legal or limited monopoly is that we want to reward people for coming up with things and improving life. And if we don't provide them some sort of protection for the stuff that they come up with, then people won't have an incentive for doing so. So we generally call these things like franchises or licenses or copyrights or patents or trademarks. All of those are legal monopolies. What we're saying is that when someone comes up with something and they have a copyright, so let's say they wrote a book and they copyright it, they have the right to make some money off of that. Okay? If we didn't allow them to have a copyright, we would say, oh no, anybody can print that book and sell it, and that's not yours. Another example would be like the pharmaceutical industry. If we didn't allow them to have a legal monopoly, basically what we would do is every time they came up with a new drug, so they sink millions and billions of dollars into cancer research, and they come up with a drug that helps cancer, and we just say, oh, thanks, we appreciate you doing that for the good of mankind. Well, immediately they say, good luck with all the other cancers, because we're shutting up shop. We're going to shut down. We're going to stop trying to come up with something, because we spent billions of dollars, and the second we came up with something, you took it away, and we don't have the opportunity to make any of that money back. And so we give them a license or a patent, something that protects them, a legal monopoly, so that they have a period of time where they get to make it. So all of these things expire, all right? So patents expire, copyrights expire. And so in the case of the pharmaceutical industry, they're usually given a period of time where they get to be the sole provider of the drug. And so they get to recoup their money that they have invested into it and maybe make some profit. And then at the end of its period, they release the compound, and so other companies can make it. And so those are the two types of monopolies that we allow, are legal monopolies and natural monopolies.